Hi, this is James Devine, and I'm coming to you with a lesson on intervals, being able to identify and describe intervals. There's two things that you need to know when talking about intervals: the actual distance between the notes and the quality of the interval. We'll first talk about the distance between the notes. If you see on this first example, we have the note, the starting note, the ending note, and there's no note that would fall between these two notes. So we take the starting note 1, the ending note 2, and we would describe that as an interval of a second. The next example, take a look at this one. We have the starting note, we have the ending note, and there could be one note that could fall in between these two. And so we take the starting note, the ending note, and all the notes in between, and that's how we end up with an interval of a third. So that's how we describe the distance between the notes. Let's do one more example. Okay, in this one you'll notice that we have the starting note, the ending note, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other notes that would go between it. So with all that together, we have an interval of a seventh. It doesn't matter whether you go up or down with it. You'll notice in this one that we start at the higher note and then go down, but this is also a seventh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we would describe that as an interval of a seventh also. Now let's talk about the quality of the intervals. There's several different qualities that you can have in an interval. You can have a major interval, a perfect interval, a minor interval, a diminished interval, and an augmented interval. And we're going to kind of take them kind of one at a time. Basically, let's start with the major intervals. If it's the same note in the major scale of what you're looking at, then it's going to be described as a major, with the exception of the fourth, the fifth, and the eighth. The fourth, the fifth, and the eighth are called perfect intervals. So the fourth note in the scale, like C to F, the fifth note, C to G, for example, and C to C, the octave, those would all be a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, and a perfect eighth. So we'll talk about those again in just a minute. But now let's go to the other major intervals. So the second, the third, the sixth, and the seventh. If it's the second, third, sixth, and seventh note in the major scale, then it would be a major whatever. In this example here, we're going from a C to an E in the C scale. So we have a distance of a third, and it's the note in the major scale. So it would be a major third. Here's the same example in bass clef. We're going from a C to an E, and it's a major third. It's the third note in the major scale, so it ends up being a major third. If we go to the fourth or the fifth note, remember it's called perfect. So here's a couple of examples of a perfect fourth and a perfect fifth. Once again, we're in the key of C in treble clef. We have C to F, C, D, E, F. That's 4 notes, perfect fourth. C to G, it's a perfect fifth. These examples are in bass clef, and we have a major third and a major sixth. So take a look at that. C to E, a major third. C to A, a major sixth. One more to go in the majors, and that's a major seventh. If you take a look at this example in bass clef, we're going from a C to a B, and that ends up being a major seventh because B is in the right key for that. Now if we take a major third and we lower it down half a step, then it turns into a minor third. Take a look at this example here. We have C to E, major third. We lower that third down half a step, and it becomes a minor third. If you lower a note down 2 half steps, then it becomes diminished. So major goes to diminished, lower another half step, it becomes, major goes to minor, and then minor another half step becomes diminished. Take a look at this example here. C to E double flat. That's going to be a diminished third. Now E double flat is the same as D natural, but if you change it to D natural, then it becomes a major second. If you take a perfect interval and you lower it half a step, then it becomes a diminished interval. Here's an example in bass clef. We take a perfect fifth, C to G, and we lower the G half a step to G flat, and it becomes a diminished fifth. So So there's one other thing you can do to an interval. If you raise it half a step, then it becomes an augmented interval. And so we're going to talk about that for if you raise a perfect interval half a step, it becomes augmented. If you raise a major interval half a step, then it becomes augmented. In this example, you see we have a perfect fifth, C to G. And if we raise the G to a G sharp, then it becomes an augmented fifth. Hopefully that answers your question about intervals. Be ready to be able to recognize and write some intervals, some simple ones for your final exam. And I miss all of you guys, but as you watch